road should not have been there. Kenji would remember that later, long after the forest, long after the lantern, long after the sound of something dragging itself across wood in the dead of night. He would remember the way the road seemed to unroll beneath his feet like a strip of old film, appearing only as he walked it, vanishing behind him into a suffocating darkness that refused to hold shape. At the time, though, he was too tired to question it. His legs trembled with every step. His breath rasped in his throat, raw and uneven, as though the forest itself had reached in and taken something from his lungs. He had been traveling for days, no, longer than that, though the memory of time had begun to blur into something shapeless and indistinct. Villages had grown sparse, roads had narrowed, then dissolved entirely into winding trails swallowed by trees that leaned too close, their branches interlocking like fingers knitting a cage overhead. And now there was only the forest, dense, oppressive, watching. The silence was wrong, not peaceful, not natural. It pressed inward, as though something vast and unseen stood just beyond the reach of sight, holding its breath, waiting for him to notice. Kenji tried not to think about that. It was nearing dusk when he first saw the lantern. At first, he thought it was a trick of his eyes, some final flicker before exhaustion dragged him down into the damp earth. A small, wavering glow suspended between the black trunks of trees. He blinked. The light remained. It did not sway with the wind, because there was no wind. It flickered in place, steady and patient, as though it had always been there, and he had only just now earned the right to see it. A structure emerged behind it, slowly, reluctantly, like a memory returning after years of being buried. The outline of a roof, heavy, sloped, dark wood beams aged into near black, paper walls that glowed faintly from within. A ryokan, ancient, silent, waiting. Relief hit him so suddenly, his knees nearly buckled. Shelter, warmth, an end to the forest. He moved toward it without thinking. The gravel path appeared beneath his feet as he approached, each step crunching softly, the sound unnaturally loud in the suffocating quiet. The closer he got, the more something began to feel wrong. Not abandoned, but not alive either. The building did not feel empty. It felt occupied, not by movement, but by awareness. He stopped at the base of the steps. The lantern flickered once, sharp, sudden, as if acknowledging him. Kenji swallowed. "Hello," he called. His voice sounded small, swallowed almost immediately by the trees. No answer, only the faint groan of old wood settling somewhere deep inside the structure. He climbed the steps. Each one creaked beneath him, each one louder than it should have been. By the time he reached the door, his chest felt tight, though he could not explain why. The door was thick, heavy, its surface worn smooth by hands that were no longer here. Kenji raised his hand, hesitated, then knocked. The sound echoed. Once, twice, a long pause. Then the door began to open, slowly, too slowly, not pushed, not pulled, just moving, creeping inward inch by inch, accompanied by a long, drawn-out creak that seemed to stretch time itself. Kenji leaned forward, peering into the darkness. There was no one there, no figure, no movement, no light, only darkness, not the kind that hides things, the kind that consumes them. He felt it then, a pull, subtle but undeniable, Something in his chest tightened, his thoughts stuttered, and suddenly he was inside. He did not remember stepping across the threshold, only that the door was behind him now, closed. The lantern outside had vanished. The air inside was still, too still. It smelled faintly of old wood and something dry, like paper sealed away for decades. A single candle burned somewhere ahead. Its flame did not flicker. It did not move. It simply existed. "Welcome," the voice came from his left. Kenji turned. She stood there, the hostess. He hadn't heard her approach, hadn't seen her enter. She was simply there, beautiful, unnaturally so. Her face was too perfect, too composed, as though it had never been shaped by emotion. Her skin pale, almost luminous in the dim light. Her eyes dark and deep and empty in a way that made it impossible to tell where she was looking. And she did not move, not even slightly. Her posture was flawless, her hands folded neatly in front of her. Even her breathing, if she was breathing, was invisible. I was hopping for a room, Kenji said, forcing steadiness into his voice. Silence, a long silence. Then she tilted her head, just slightly. Of course, her voice was soft, too soft, like something imitating sound. She turned and began to walk. Kenji followed. The corridors stretched farther than they should have. The candlelight did not change. The shadows did not shift. Shoji screens lined the walls, their surfaces faintly yellowed with age. As he walked past them, he had the distinct, crawling sensation that something stood on the other side, not moving, just standing, listening, watching. He quickened his pace. They reached a room. She slid the door open. Inside, a futon, perfectly laid out, a single candle, waiting, everything waiting. Kenji stepped inside. "Thank you," he said, turning back. She was still there, standing in the doorway, watching him, and for a moment, something passed across her face. Not an expression, something else, something like recognition. Then, without a word, she slid the door shut. The sound echoed too loudly. Kenji stood still for a long moment, then exhaled. "You're imagining things," he muttered. Exhaustion, that's all this was. He lay down, closed his eyes, and sleep took him quickly, too quickly, like falling. Midnight did not arrive with sound. It arrived with absence. Kenji's eyes snapped open. No dream, no noise, just a feeling. Wrong. The candle had gone out. The room was cold. Moonlight filtered faintly through the paper walls, pale and distant. He sat up slowly, listened. Nothing. Then a sound, soft, dragging, slow, like something being pulled across wood. He froze. It came again, longer this time, closer, from the main hall. Kenji shook his head. "No, don't look, don't move." But the sound came again, and curiosity, that terrible, fatal thing, pulled him forward. Slowly, carefully, he slid the shoji door open, just enough to see. The main hall lay in cold moonlight. The warm candlelight was gone, replaced by a thin beam of silver cutting through a torn panel. And there, in the center, she knelt, facing away from him, perfectly still, her back straight, her hands resting in her lap. And the scarf, the long cream-colored scarf, was gone. The dragging sound came again. This time, he saw it. Her neck. It moved, slowly, stretching. At first, it seemed like a trick, a distortion, but then the skin pulled, lengthened. A wet, subtle sound followed, flesh shifting where it should not. Kenji's breath caught. No, no, that's not. The neck extended further. Longer, longer. The movement was not magical, not smooth. It was physical. Muscle, skin, bone, forcing itself into something impossible. Her head tilted, and the neck stretched farther still. The sound, that dragging sound, was her, the length of her neck, sliding across the floor. Kenji couldn't breathe. His chest locked. His mind refused to process what he was seeing. Then her head stopped. Stillness, a single moment, suspended in silence. Then, slowly, her head began to turn. Not her body, only her head. The neck twisted with it, uncoiling, rotating. Her face came into view, pale, lit by moonlight, smiling, but not the same smile. This one was wrong, too wide, too sharp. Her eyes locked onto his, and in that instant, he understood. The scarf, it wasn't clothing, it was a restraint. The body remained kneeling, still, empty, but the head moved. It lifted, the neck coiling upward, like a serpent rising to strike. Kenji stumbled backward. The door rattled behind him. The creature lunged. Fast, violent, the paper screen exploded inward as the elongated neck tore through it. He ran. No thought, no hesitation, just instinct. The hallway blurred. Shadows warped. The creature moved impossibly fast, its neck whipping through the air, smashing into beams, knocking over lamps, splintering wood. He heard it behind him, felt it, a presence closing in. He glanced back and saw her face inches away, the mouth open, too wide, teeth visible, a hiss escaping. Wet, hungry, he burst into the main hall. The body still knelt there, unmoving, as though nothing had changed. He stumbled past it, nearly fell. The neck slammed into a pillar behind him with a crack that shook the entire structure. He ran for the door, hands shaking, fumbling. The wood was cold beneath his fingers. Behind him, a shriek, not human, not animal, something else, something that had once tried to be human and failed. The neck coiled again, striking. Kenji tore the door open. Cold air hit him. He threw himself outside. The door slammed shut behind him. Silence, instant, absolute. The forest swallowed him whole. Fog rolled between the trees. Thick, cold, alive. He ran. Branches clawed at him. Roots twisted beneath his feet. The path was gone. The world was only motion and fear and breath tearing through his lungs. He did not stop, could not stop, not until the darkness began to fade, not until the sky lightened, not until his body finally gave out. He collapsed, the forest quiet, still, as if nothing had ever happened. When he woke, morning, sunlight filtered through the trees. Soft, warm, normal. The forest looked ordinary. The path had returned. Clear, simple, safe. Kenji sat up slowly, looked back. Nothing. No inn, no lantern, no door. Only trees. Endless trees. He let out a broken laugh. A nightmare. It had to be. Exhaustion. Stress, his mind breaking under pressure. He stood, unsteady, but alive, safe. The horror was over. It had to be. Hours later, far behind him, the mist lifted. The ryokan stood once more, silent, still. The lantern by the door hung dark. The structure looked abandoned, empty, forgotten, as though no one had ever entered, as though no one had ever left. The door remained closed, unmoving, patient, and there, near the entrance path, partially hidden by drifting fog, lay the scarf, long, cream-colored, damp with morning dew, resting on the earth like something shed, or something waiting for the next traveler, for the next knock, for the next moment when the road appears where it should not exist, and someone, too tired to question it, chooses to follow.